Okay, so welcome to the first Cirak Live. I have an interesting background here. I'm in Germany, where the weather's a lot cooler. Different from my usual Southeast Asian climate, for sure. This is a special 90-minute session every week that I'm excited to share with everyone that is meant to anchor us and be a place not just of refuge, but a place that we return to each week so that we can gather information, more insights, more resilience, more strengths, more tools on how to maneuver and engage and navigate this world. It's especially a time of a lot of upheaval. And at the surface, that provides challenges, but of course, challenges is what makes us grow. So it's also a time of great growth for everyone, even those that found peace and comfort and flow maybe in prior times. They might find themselves newly challenged in the current times. And again, that's because our growth never ends. The work is never done. We're meant to keep expanding. That is our nature. There is no such state where we've got it all figured out and we're just going to stand still and rest on our laurels. Even if we do attain that kind of state, it's only temporary. Some challenge will come along, even if it's just internal. Even if the external is quote unquote under control, it doesn't provide any new challenges. Even if you've surrounded yourself with walls as thick as concrete to keep the outside world out, you still have your inside world to deal with and to conquer, if you will. And ultimately, that is the biggest challenge of all, is to be at peace with ourselves. So it doesn't matter where we go and how we set ourselves up. It's always going to come back to, are you at peace with yourself? Environment is really just a co-star and a facilitator of the journey of self-discovery. There are certain triggers in our environment, people, especially families, very often are one of the primary sources of triggers. And the people that we work with and the environments that we spend time in, what we hear on the news and things that are happening in our friends' lives and in the broader community. Lots and lots and lots of opportunities for feeling triggered. But of course, those triggers are just pointers into ourselves, back to who we are and how are we engaging with the world. Are we judging the world? Are we wanting to control the world and put our stamp on how we want it to unfold, how we want it to happen? Or are we co-creating with life? Are we there, present in the moment of unfolding when things happen, free of preconceived notions of how it should happen, and rather open to seeing how it's happening, and even more so, to be part of facilitating how it wants to happen? We spend so much time trying to figure out life, make plans, figure ourselves out, become a better person. It comes from a noble place. But we're so small in our capabilities just on our own, using our mind primarily and the few things that we've experienced, to think that we can put an overlay on life and say, well, this is how it ought to happen, is very small-minded. And that's where the friction happens, because we'll get upset, we'll get disappointed when it happens differently, which it is bound to, because The future cannot be predicted. Life cannot be controlled. It cannot be known. Knowledge is one of the biggest illusions that we think we can find ourselves, find our happiness, find our peace in the things that we know, when knowledge itself is just a repetition of something from the past, an interpretation, a judgment. We all have experiences where we look back on life and something that we once thought was a certain way, we now see it differently. Something that was once a disappointment, now we may see the lesson in it, and it had to happen, and we grew because of it. Something that seemed like a big moment of celebration and joy, those things often don't stand out as much as the things that made us dig deeper and get to know ourselves better. And that's ultimately what we're here for, is to get to know ourselves better and better so that we can engage with the world in a more authentic way. When we show up more genuinely, more self-knowingly, the environment responds. People respond. You're exhibiting a quality and energy, a frequency that everyone wants for themselves, to be more genuine, to be more present, authentic, to be here, to be available. This expresses itself as the ability to listen truly without judging, to be solution oriented. You're not here to blame, to see things as they are and then respond. Respond not from self as much. Yes, experience, expertise plays a role, but it's a small role. Most of it is showing up and seeing what's actually happening. And when you can see it, not through the lens of your own judgments, but actually objectively see what's happening, then the solution jumps out. The situation tells us what it wants us to do, where the opportunity to co-create lies. And that could be doing amazing things. It could be standing back and letting something unfold. Inaction is also action. So mindfulness and meditation and spirituality, everything that we use these labels for, it's not about reaching some end goal of enlightenment. If that is what we're doing it for, then it's just chasing another goal. We're falling into the same trap of living for outcomes. But rather, it's to make better decisions now, to be free of the weight of expectations and projections onto a certain situation, and to actually just be there and available to the situation so that you can dance the dance of life together. So that's what we've come together for here every week. One is to find some refuge and be among like-minded. It's one of the challenges as you work on your own frequency and you're developing greater self-awareness. You notice how others who are not working on their frequency and their self-awareness are more challenging to be around. And that is not to look down or condescend. It's just they're spending their time elsewhere, and wherever it is they're spending their time is where their attention needs to go. There are lessons to be learned in those areas. Most of our lessons come from creating contrast in our lives, living a certain way that isn't healthy, that isn't directly towards greater self-awareness, but in the absence, in that vacuum that we create, we generate the drive, the eventual need to come out of it. It propels us towards greater self-realization, greater self-awareness. So everything needs to be seen as an evolution, as a process. We can never say somebody is unconscious, somebody is conscious. Those are very superficial on-off labels, and that's not the reality. It's a process, and we're always who we are right now. And the most important thing is to accept who you are right now. It's not wanting to be somebody you're not. If you're always longing to get to a different place than when you are right now, that's when the rub happens, the tension happens, the suffering starts to happen because we're not here. We're sending ourselves, the body, a message that I don't like who I am. I don't accept who I am. Yes, there are ways that you can improve that you're aware of, but focusing on that piece only reinforces the lack. Focusing on accepting where you are the way you are does not entail blindly floating through life and disregarding any opportunities for growth. But it's the actual natural path towards growth is to accept who you are right now so that you can come out of resistance to it. And then from that acceptance state, that surrendered state, you automatically, your energy field moves forward. Okay, I am who I am. I have the tools that I have the behaviors that I exhibit. Now what? Well, now I can create change. If you keep fighting, keep resisting, you stay stuck. Excuse me. Spaciousness and peace, stillness, a place to return to each week is super important because most of our life is noisy. It's rushed. It's always getting to the next moment from A to B, trying to complete some task. I have full days full of tasks as well. You just need to set aside some time to build an awareness muscle, just like we would set aside time to go to the gym if we wanted to strengthen our body. If we want to strengthen our awareness, we need to set some time aside until that awareness muscle is strong enough and big enough to hold its own, that you can bring it into life, into daily situations, without losing the equanimity of your mind, the balance, without sinking into constant reactivity, without losing yourself in thoughts about judgments, thoughts about what a situation should be, but rather to stay aware, to stay present, to stay conscious. Primarily conscious of the fact that you are not your body, you are not your name, your job title, your belongings, you're not the history of the stories that we tell ourselves that get passed down generation by generations. Oh, these stories run so deep, especially when you're visiting home and these are people you grew up with, your family, that goes back to the roots of the stories. We had a funny dinner a few nights ago where everyone in the family was sharing what they recollected about certain things growing up, and everyone had a different story. We don't have to go into it too deeply here, but memories are ultimately a big illusion. They're ways that we limit ourselves, the way that we identify with something. And it's not really helpful in engaging with the world is that the stories keep us out of seeing the present moment objectively. They put a lens, a filter on how things are happening. And that then puts a veil over the simplicity of the unfolding of the present moment. And the ease with which it shows up becomes more burdensome. There's a weight that gets added, expectations that get added. Just the filters of all the different labels and judgments that we have get added, and suddenly life feels a lot more complicated and heavy, and like there's problems that need to be fixed. We can come out of all of that. It's not a special skill that's only the fortunate few have somehow been gifted with. It's simply spending time on developing our awareness muscle. It's what we give our attention to that starts to grow. It's where we put our energy that we benefit from. It's as simple as that. So if we're spending our time doing other things, then those things grow. You could be growing a business, your knowledge in that area, or um, different expertises. You could be practicing jogging, running for a marathon, and your muscles will grow in that way. And your understanding of your body will grow in that way. You could be hanging out with friends and people, and you'll be learning and growing in the social context. So simply, when you spend time on growing your self-awareness muscle, then that will grow. And the special thing about awareness is it's the umbrella for everything else. So it's who you are that you bring yourself into all those other situations that determines a lot, if not all, of how those situations unfold. So if you bring your fears and your expectations and your need for control and your insecurities and all those things to a situation, it's going to color those circumstances a certain way. But if you bring curiosity, openness, a sense of wonder, a kind of I want to see what happens next, excitement, even if you bring those energies to a situation, then that will determine the experience of life. And oddly enough, it's a lot easier, even just talking about it, to be curious and thankful and show gratitude. It feels good instantly. The rewards are there. To be excited. Everyone wants to be excited about what happens next. But it's just the momentum and the weight of the stories and the attachments to beliefs that override all of this wonder, all of this splendor that's really there. It's not an overstatement to say that heaven is on earth. Everyone can create their heaven experience. Every person for themselves. This is their path, has that ability. So we don't have to wait to the end or some judgment day or some after phase. We can create that for ourselves right now. That doesn't mean there aren't struggles still, but when you see life as a student, from a student perspective, and life is a teacher, then almost all your resistance falls away. So the important piece is to already shift the general stance. Are you trying to enforce your will on the world? And good luck with that. How's that going for you? Or are you collaborating with the world? Are you seeing it as your teacher, as a source of lessons that help you get to know yourself better? That is fundamentally the most important shift, is to come out of feeling that you need to control everything, you need to determine everything, you need to make everything happen. That leads to a sense of isolation, and it's me, little old me, against a big scary world. That's not a fun place to be in. But then let's see what this situation says about me. Every standing in line at the supermarket, meeting friends, talking to coworkers, getting up to meet the day, every situation contains us inside of it. It's a reflection of who we are at this moment. We see it a certain way because of who we are right now. So recognizing that life is the mirror, already drops most of the friction, most of the resistance. Now you're in a learning mode, you're in open mode, you're in receiving mode. You're going, and when something happens, your first response is not, why did it happen? Poor me, it's always my fault, or blaming others. That's a lot of negative energy. But rather, what does this say about me? And that is not to blame yourself, far from it, but that's to take responsibility for your own happiness, for your own actions. And again, taking responsibility is a form of acceptance. It's saying, this is what's happened. This is who I am at this moment. And then that invites change. It invites change within yourself. It invites change into your energy field. You're no longer stuck. Other people can feel that and they honor that. That is a genuine energy, an authentic energy. So from that place, life just unfolds better, faster in its intended way. We're not slowing our own unfolding down by constantly getting in the way of it. And that's when we start to experience flow and we start to experience miracles. Things that we call miracles because they're rare become the norm. And then you're living a miraculous life suddenly. And you don't even know it because that is your baseline. It no longer requires a label. And you can never grow a big head about it either. You're always prepared that there's another lesson that you're not aware of that might come along. And the best way to prepare for that is, again, to be present and show up the way, in the cleanest possible way that you can. So, I want to look at some comments here. Hi, Nandita. You didn't miss anything. The important thing I think about this this weekly get together is that we make it very realistic and practical. Even when we intellectually understand these things, there needs to be a practical application. So the last half hour of our 90-minute session, I'll lead us through a guided meditation. I do want to open up the floor to some real questions about what the challenges are in life. Feel free to type those into the chat, or you can come on stage. I think the way it works is you just either raise your hand or in the chat just say me and I'll bring you on stage. But if you do want to stay more subdued, you can just type whatever questions, situations that you're dealing with in life. And that's an interesting question too, because very often I find is when I ask people, what are you struggling with the most? There's some obvious things. You might be struggling with finance or meeting a partner, or work is there's pressure at work, and these are all standard things, but there's always something deeper there that we can unearth. So it's rare that we're fully aware of the depth of what's actually wanting to be expressed. We're aware of the surface friction, the surface kind of tension and the triggers, but then we rarely go deeper. So we might find ourselves procrastinating, for example. I wrote a recent Substack on that. And we stay stuck at the level of procrastination. Why am I not able to get stuff done? Why am I not good enough? Am I not smart enough? What's wrong with me? We stay at the level of blame and judgment. Yet procrastination has a deeper message. It can point to something else that wants to express itself. That the way you've been aligning yourself towards some goal, some task, is not the way that it naturally wants to flow. You can fight the flow, you can still force yourself, but that hurts and it's not sustainable in the long run. Or you have enough awareness to say, well, if it's not meant to happen this way, is there another avenue, another path? Maybe just a different approach to the exact same problem, but I'm being asked to look at it differently. or there's something that isn't quite ready to flower yet. So it needs more time for incubation. You feel like you want to get going, but it needs more time. Maybe more information needs to be gathered. Maybe you should be focusing on something completely different right now. And that could mean just spend, a day or two taking walks in the woods, in the forest, or along the beach. Whatever it is to see past the level of judgment, past the stuckness. When you're feeling bored, the same thing. If you're feeling stressed, the same thing. If you're feeling, anxious about some situation or loneliness, everything has a deeper meaning. And so we're here to unpack all of that. So we have a question. Being with my father can be difficult for me at times. You mentioned this can be the case when you're with people who aren't working on themselves and their inner self-awareness. I want to connect more deeply with him. Any thoughts around creating connection with people who are at different levels of awareness of self? The challenges I have is around getting triggered by much of his way of being, which shuts me down from flow and making connection. Beautiful question. So these people, it could be your father, it could be your colleague, a neighbor, it could be a sibling, it could be ourselves as well. They're teaching us, and it may not be the way you want to be taught, but that therein lies the opportunity. Is they're teaching us to come out of judgment. In this particular example, you may want him to be a certain way. You may want him to communicate a certain way. You may want him to work on himself and be more self-aware and not live his life the certain way that has certain consequences. So the lesson is not so much in changing him, but rather not wanting to change him and learning to be okay with how he is, who he is, and whatever station in life he's at. And to broaden one's perspective on, everyone's learning their lesson. His actions, the consequences of his lifestyle are teaching him some things, maybe very slowly, but that's his process. And the acceptance of that is your process. And it's not easy when you have people that you love and you want them, to come out of their stuck place. But at higher levels of awareness, this becomes the primary lesson. Acceptance. On the way there, there's a lot of forgiveness. Allowing people to just be, right? And for that, really, you have to let yourself be as well. So that's something maybe to look at in your relationship with the challenges of letting him just be who he is. Can you reflect and see if there are any areas within yourself that could benefit from letting yourself be as you are, where you're maybe putting pressure on yourself or being self-critical. So there's a lot of opportunity there. The most important thing is to no longer want him to be somebody he's not. And that is not a statement of permanence, but it's a relief, surrender, and acceptance of who he is right now, with a deeper understanding that, well, tomorrow's another day. In fact, the next moment is another day. And in fact, by accepting him as he is, it sends a certain frequency and an energy into your energy field, into his energy field. There's a communication happening that through acceptance, people move forward. So it's not just for your own peace that you want to see him as he is, but this actually helps. It creates the frequency and it creates a connection, a different kind of connection that makes him feel accepted and understood and seen and heard. And that moves people forward. We can't expect it, but it does. And they may be micro movements. It might be longer periods of time where this acceptance aura has to, be present and then do its work on the family dynamics. But whatever it is, it's, again, not for us to want things to happen a certain way by a certain time, but rather just to be okay with what is. And this is what we practice when we meditate, is to be okay with who you are, with how you're breathing, with how busy your mind is, with how you feel, what your body aches might be, whatever sounds might be happening in your environment that might be, quote unquote, interfering with your peace. All of that is an exercise in acceptance. And the acceptance of it is a feeling. It's not a mental exercise. It's allowing yourself to feel how you feel, not reacting to the discomfort of a trigger, not reacting to loud noise that you're hearing that's taking you out of stillness. And that is not again, not a mental effort, but it's a allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling. And that's when you realize the vast majority of your experience is reactivity to your feelings. So you hear a loud noise, maybe it's unpleasant, maybe it's sudden, maybe it kind of jolts you for a moment. Not very pleasant, but the reaction to that, however it made you feel, maybe your heart is thumping quickly for a moment. But the reaction to, I don't want to feel this way. This shouldn't be happening. Why don't they know that they should be more quiet? Or how dare the neighbor, play loud music or run their engine, whatever it is. That is the story. That is where most of the energy, the reactive energy goes. And that's what drains us. That's what keeps us out of maintaining a balanced mind. And then in that state, in that reactive state, we don't make good decisions. We don't feel good about ourselves or about life. We get caught up in past and future. We get caught up in wanting to control things. So just to bring it back, every situation is a teacher. And our parents, our families are the greatest teachers most of the time. And always looking deeper, what does this say about me? What am I not seeing here that it's triggering me so much about? That's a good mantra to just kind of take into daily life. What does this say about me? Let's see what happens next. Is this really true? Questions like that keep you on the side of awareness. You couldn't ask yourself those things if you were fully identified and embroiled and entangled with your beliefs about, my dad is not as working on himself as much as he should. And, that's the small and anxious and angry place to be in. But when you can ask yourself, well, what does this say about me? What is the opportunity to reflect, and what is it pointing to within myself? Oh, I feel triggered here. Notice that sensation. And when you can allow yourself to notice that sensation, stay with it, give it space to be, not react to it. Oh, it shouldn't be this way, but let yourself feel it. It's just a temporary trigger. It'll fade again. And when it fades, often within seconds, there's some wisdom that remains. There's insights that come from that. Oh, this is a feeling I had when I was in kindergarten, or when I was being taunted, or when my parents said this or that when I was a child, and it stayed with me, and now it's been controlling me subconsciously. Or this is how they were treated by their parents, and now they just blindly pass it on to me. All these insights starts to unfold. It just comes to you when you stay out of reactivity. We're really brilliant, amazing creatures. And it's really hard to stay reactive all the time. It just drains us. And with some practice, and that's what this live session is for, is that we give our awareness muscle a training, a boost. And that is talking, that is sharing, but it's also stillness, and it's also meditation. We'll do all of that still today. And not seeing like, oh, one time I'm going to show up and I'm going to accept him as he is, and and then that's going to change everything. So again, it's a process, and it may take a while, and you can't have expectations that it will immediately reveal changes in the other person. Those changes might not take hold till much later, or they're not visible. They're happening at the energetic level. For sure, they're happening at the energetic level. But that might take its time to, maybe a new body needs to come along, and they need to inhabit that to be able to really put that new awareness to good use. We can't know that, and we have no control over that. The part that we do own is ourselves. So in that equation, we can impact the way we show up. And your dad is a perfect learning environment for you to show up as non-judgmental as possible, noticing how when he says certain things, or when you observe certain things, where that triggers you in your body, and to stay with those triggers and let them dissolve, and suddenly you're flowing, and suddenly you're present, and no longer needing to control the situation. Keep this, jot this down, because later in the session we'll do a energy healing, a conscious release of stuck energy. So it's a short guided meditation we'll do, and then you can use that relationship as your topic. Next question is unaccepted and discriminated by team. So I assume you're meaning maybe your workplace, where you're not getting the respect, or not getting a voice the way you'd want it. Without more detail, what I can say is, again, the more aware we are, the more we become targets for other people's discomfort, for other people's lack of awareness. It becomes the primary challenge as we grow our own awareness muscle, is how do we navigate with and engage with a less conscious world. Everyone's on their journey, but most people learn in much longer stretches of time. So those lessons are still happening, but it might take decades. And those of us who probably already took decades in a previous incarnation are now in a place where we can move through it more quickly. That's really the only difference between humans, is that our karmic debt is less. We've already worked through things. I noticed this for the first time very accurately when I started teaching higher education. And when you have a class of 30, 20-somethings, you see the difference in soul age. And that's what I wrote my last book about. Old soul, young soul, is to look at people and look at situations, how your soul age determines how you experience it and how you respond to it. And many of people, same age, many of the kids in class, you could tell very clearly they were very young souls. They had a long way to go with lots of lessons. That's okay. We were all young souls at one point. And then others are old souls. And oh my gosh, they move through the challenges, the amnesia, forgetting our spiritual roots, our connection to source. We all suffer from forgetting all of that for a while, but the older souls reconnect very quickly, and they find themselves going to places like this. So, more practically speaking, how do you deal when you're with an environment, with colleagues and a team that doesn't respect you? Again, it's teaching you something very deep and profound. Can you set boundaries? How comfortable are you doing that? How is this situation challenging you to speak up? Maybe that's something that wasn't promoted growing up, and you didn't have a voice, and now you're really in a situation that asks you to find your voice. Of course, it could be that once you find your voice, it's still too toxic. It's still not the place you want to be, and then that pushes you out and into an environment to seek out a different situation that you're more aligned with. Again, life works that way. It's actually working. So I always say it's important not to just uh, run away from a current situation because it's not working. First, see where the lessons are. First, see where you're being asked to go deeper. Because if you don't take those opportunities, the next situation is just going to bring the same. So find yourself in it. Find where it's asking you to be more authentic. Because the things that trigger you about your colleagues and your environment, look at those from within yourself and what that says about you. It's helping you become more clear about who you are. So if they're not honest, you see them backstabbing each other and it annoys you, or backstabbing you. Well, that says something about your character, and it creates clarity of what type of people do you want in your environment. So that then creates alignment within yourself in a frequency that eventually will attract more people that are aligned with who you are. And eventually it will also make it very clear that yes, I can, set certain boundaries. I can rise above these these lower levels of awareness and be a leader in this space and become a pillar of stability and peace and calm. That's what I did. Um, all my life, I was a consultant, and I would walk into situations that were chaotic because that's when they hire outside people, when things are a big mess, and they would bring me in to clean up the mess. So you could become that person. Now, it might also tell you that this is not the company, this is not the environment, this is not the school that you want to be in. But first, really feel it out from a what is it teaching you perspective before you take those other actions. Those other actions of change should never come from a feeling of running away or defeatism or um, feeling like overwhelmed, exhausted. You can take a break, of course, but making those bigger changes should always come from a place of alignment. I'm clear that this situation doesn't speak to me in the ways that I need to be spoken to. So then you seek out different employment or different life circumstances that are aligned with you. And before this job, you couldn't have said that. You didn't have that clarity. And now this situation with this team is teaching you that clarity. So take away that wisdom of what it's teaching you and then work with that for a while, create clarity and alignment from that. The part of resistance to why are they like this? Why are they treating me like this? Why don't they respect me? All that's the part that isn't very helpful. It's because it just keeps you in a state of antagonism and judgment. But if it's an acute situation, it might force itself on you very quickly that you have to stand up and speak up and set boundaries. So I hope that was helpful. I struggle with confidence and I portray and end up saying negative things about myself to others. I'm often misunderstood, mistreated. People easily take me for granted. So the first thing that jumps out is that you're aware of all of this. And that's the most difficult part. When we blindly are controlled by these subconscious needs and insecurities and fear and lack, then our life gets messy. And until we get knocked around enough to wake up from that and realize that there's something inside of us that's actually keeps regenerating a situation. But you have all of this awareness already, so that's half the work. So that's fantastic. From here, it's just finding the tools, having a practice. We'll meditate together in just a little bit. Ultimately, you want your whole life to be a practice where you apply yourself genuinely. It's not just Like when you go to the gym, you work on your muscles. After a while, you don't need to go to the gym because you have built up enough muscles and you take them into life. You don't leave the muscles at the door of the gym and then you're just back to your skinny self. And that's not how it happens. So, yes, meditation in the beginning is great. Mindfulness exercises, reflection work, writing, conscious writing exercise, all of this, and we'll do that, is necessary initially, but there comes a point when it just becomes your dominant frequency. Self-awareness becomes so strong that you just take it wherever you go. So really just noticing when you talk negative about yourself, and not just afterwards. Oh, why did I say that again? But as you're saying it, tune into your body because it's showing up somewhere. There's a negative hit, a, con, a, cons- a constriction, possibly maybe in your throat, in your chest, in your stomach. Maybe there's stinging or a rush of energy or something. Whatever it is, notice as you're saying these things. Notice where that shows up in your body. If you can notice as you're speaking how you feel about what you're saying, and that's ultimately what presence is that you're not just noticing things around you, but you're actually noticing how you feel about the things around you, about what others are saying, what you are saying, what's happening. Your body is the intelligence that makes sense of those things, not the mind. Mind can help you execute, but nurturing a connection to your body, so then as you say things that aren't really beneficial in alignment with your well-being, that you notice very quickly, oh, I just said that and I'm feeling this way. That awareness that you bring to the sensation is going to dissolve the behavior. If you resist oh, I don't want to feel this way, why did I say that again, why do I keep criticizing all this, and you kind of see how you stay stuck and you will just repeat. But if you can actually feel where that shows up and allow that to arise and allow it to pass, then you start to diffuse these habit patterns. They're just nervous system patterns of reacting to a certain situation a certain way, by saying things about yourself, by behaving, having certain thoughts and behaving a certain way. All of this nervous system reactivity starts to fizzle out and fade out when you can just allow yourself to just feel your feelings fully. And then you also realize that feelings are not the enemy. They're uh, beautiful intelligence that tells you what resonates and what doesn't. So you're already expressing like you don't like those things about yourself. If you can tune into where that shows up, the negativity shows up in your body, then you start to become aware of that frequency. And that frequency is then something uh, by allowing it, it starts to dissolve and your frequency naturally rises. I always say our job here is not to make ourselves happy. Our job is not to make ourselves unhappy. So we try so much to create outcomes and achieve things and make money or have a partner, and then somehow thinking that this outcome, this goal, will make us happy. But it's actually happy is our natural state, high vibrating, alignment, flow, curiosity, wonder. That's our natural state, but we weigh ourselves down through reactivity, through stories, through judgment. And these are just ingrained patterns that once we become aware of them, they start to dissolve. And then your natural mood lifts, and you become a high vibrating being all on its own. So this idea of feeling misunderstood is kind of a separate thing, and it also crosses over to what we said before about the more we work on our self-awareness muscle, the more we see a world full of less aware people who are hurting themselves, hurting each other, creating chaos in the world. Some of that chaos affects everyone, ourselves included. And so the challenge there, the lesson there is how to see their misunderstanding of you not as your problem, but as the state that they're in, the station in life that they're in, where they see life through a certain lens. And it's a lens that's colored deeply by their own pain, by their own traumas, by their lack of awareness. And so when they see you through that lens, they're going to misunderstand you. And the important piece is you already know that, you see that body awareness coming out of the mind. The mind likes to argue in this way of, I feel misunderstood. Why do they do that? I don't feel treated well. And sink into your body. Then this whole thing takes on a different form. You might see that, well, they may be pointing things out in you in some inverse way that, yeah, that you should pay some attention to within yourself. There's some work still to be done. Other things that don't apply to you, you don't feel threatened by that at all. That's the beautiful thing with inner alignment. If somebody says something that is just not true, that doesn't resonate at all, negatively or positively, then you're not impacted by it. So the more we become clear in ourselves, the more we discard and peel back the layers of our own conditioning, the less other people's conditioning affects us. It might be, something passed along in your family, this insecurity thing that maybe you got to hear from your mom when you were small, that you're not good enough, or they put pressure on grades. Almost everyone does that. And now that's acting itself out in a kind of a lack of confidence. But when you can peel that stuff back and release the layers of stuck energy within yourself, then when somebody says something that might be demeaning, that doesn't, they're degrading your self-worth, it goes right through you or past you, because you have awareness around that. You're not those things. You've done the work to release the energy that inside of you that would have been triggered by what this person says. And because it's no longer there, you no longer feel triggered. You're free, you're flowing, you can hear the words that they're saying, and you very quickly know that doesn't resonate because you have awareness of what does resonate. So there's some work there to be done, a great opportunity. And this is the best place. One of the things when we find ourselves surrounded by a less aware world is that we have a community, even just a small group, a friend or two, somebody that doesn't make us feel so alone. It's necessary. We still have a need to feel seen and heard, and it's a hard path to go just completely isolated on your own. So if there's a place that you can go to once a week like this, or if there's a retreat that you can attend once or twice a year, where you can reconnect with people like yourself, with your tribe, even if they're not at work, even if they're not in your family, they still are out there. You can ask questions in the WhatsApp group. So there's ways to connect with, even just a small percentage of the population. It's still millions and millions and millions of people. Oh, well, thank you, Nandy, for joining on a festival day. Yeah. All my books are really practical spirituality. There's and that's not to toot my own horn, but that's because that's what I would have found very helpful and necessary when I was going through the early growth spurts. That it was a lack of practical guidance that I was dearly in need of. And so when it became my turn to give back, then that's really what I sought to do, is write books that basically every chapter ends in journaling prompts. It concludes in a checklist to self-reflect of what areas in your life maybe where you have some blind spots. Um, so they're all kind of workbooks in that way, in that they allow you to just focus on what you're dealing with, short chapters, and then give you some prompts. Very often, all we need is a little push, a little prompt. Even when we've been doing this for a long time, all we need is a little reminder, because there's just so much to life, and we forget, and then we're back on track. So Nandy, can I bring you up on stage? Because then it sounds like that is uh, a more complicated question. Hello. Oh, I think you're on mute. Are you muted?
Am I audible now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
there's a power cut just now, so it's just like
Oh,
this.
that's okay.
Yeah.
What's a I'm curious, what's a typical situation where some, because your energy is bright, your smile is big, there's a beautiful aura around you. Um,
Yeah.
what are some of the situations that diminish your light?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, one of the reasons is today I actually attended one slowing down session, and I think it was very helpful. So, coming to what's going on in life, like I joined a new team that was like some 3 months I'm working with them, but I think there's a language barrier and all that was there from initial stage. So I am not getting much of a support from the team. I wasn't getting, and I could see a lot of unfair things happening. Like that's a like what to say, confidential kind of a place. Like so, they have the passwords. We have to ask them to work for the internet access or something like that. They have to give us password. Three of us we joined together, three girls. They give the password to those people, and whenever I am asking, they will give reasons like what will have, it's a rule we cannot give and something like that. And then I will go again and say that, but then why you are giving it to them? So and then it went totally unfair, and there is this language thing that they are very close with each other. I even went and spoke with my manager. She also kind of took their side, like, and then started saying me only, like, how can you talk with them like that, when I actually pointed out that it's some unfair things are happening. So I kind of didn't get any kind of support from the seniors, from my teammates, and all that. It was getting more and more difficult to work there. It's like they took the knife and all the things that I need to do the work, and then they are expecting me to do the work, and then they are like complaining you're not doing the work. So it was kind of a total harassment. I would not feel like going to office, and I was having a very difficult time. And I think now I'm also mostly, I spoke with HR, I have to chase the team and things like that, which I'm also feeling like is going to, it's going to be for good rather than working in such kind of environment. But one thing I realized that why it is happening with me somewhere is like I kind of don't go the way I'm speaking here. I won't be like that in office. I'd be like very timid and afraid, and people overpower me and stuff like that. So yeah, there was a lot of mockery and things like that. It was very difficult. So I'm just hoping for I maybe when I'm asking this question, like what it is trying to teach me and things like that, I feel like I need to work on my communication, on myself, and come out much more stronger as a person, and maybe get an even better job. And tomorrow I want to go and thank them that it's good that you did that to me, so that I'm in a better position today. Yeah.
And that last point is very accurate. I was very, comfortable in my career as a UX designer, that I could pick the jobs that I wanted, and was really at the top of the field. And life had to give me a push in that my longest, best sources of work, my manager left and was replaced with a pure narcissist, just awful, awful. And that pushed me out of there, and gave me that necessary motivation to go into this new chapter of my life. And so that could absolutely be happening, is that they, are, and sometimes life gets really vehement about it. It will like rush to push you out of a situation that is not good for you, that's not meant for you, that you're not in alignment with. It won't even, like, when you're really, really in tune with source, it doesn't hesitate. Your whole body responds, but also the source guidance comes in so quickly, and says, it pushes you out of that space. So that can happen. And the fact that you're sensing that, or feeling that, or at least holding possibility for that, that's incredible awareness. That's really beautiful. So don't lose that part. We don't know what and why things are happening, why life, one day this situation happens. That could be the negative experience that then opens a door, or that makes you see the opportunity, or refines you and teaches you something that will lead to a much, much better life. And we can't know that. And the things that we cling to, that we think are so really good, 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 that's also could be holding us back from a more expansive perspective and way of living. So we do the best we can in each situation. Stand up for yourself, and speak up for yourself, like you have been. But then when it becomes clear that, I've kind of done everything I could and I should in this situation. I've reflected, what does it say about me? I've spoken up to set others straight, and set a kind of set on my terms, establish my terms. And if it's still then not working, then, to be open to, like, well, maybe I should look elsewhere. And that's the best we can do. And there's many great stories of entrepreneurs and writers. Eckhart Tolle has a story that he talks about how, when he was in England, he couldn't write. He just didn't know why. There's no creativity flowing. And then he got internal call to go to the West Coast of the U.S., Northwest, and suddenly the Power of Now was born. He didn't know going there that would happen. So we just can't know. The best, most amazing things is not what we can actually project or predict or know, right? If we want a life that is beyond what we can imagine, then we really have to surrender, and just allow a higher guidance to take hold, still while doing the best we can along the way. Now, it does sound like there's still a difference between you showing up here and speaking so eloquently and beautifully and shining your light on everyone here, and then how you are in those situations. And just to reflect on that, maybe the toxicity, or the dense energy of that environment just dims your light. It just dims it in such a way that, yeah, could you, put up some defense? Could you, like, shine even brighter? Maybe you can give that a try. But it could also just be, it's just too overwhelming, too much negativity, too much stuckness. And then you're absolutely in your right to seek out a higher vibrating situation. And you wouldn't know to look for something that's more aligned if it wasn't for this. It's actually refining you in a really big way. And then, of course, the task is, you got to listen to that inner knowing. So not just take any job, any situation that comes along, but really look for something that resonates. I always say when you go in for a job interview, you're interviewing them as much, if not even more, than them interviewing you. You want to make sure that the company is a fit for you. So how can you ask the right questions? Well, you got to know yourself. How do you deal with pressure? Do you support creativity? How about time to recharge? And are there quiet rooms where I could go and meditate for 15 minutes every day? And just all these little things, they matter, and they can turn uh, your workday into a beautiful flowing experience. But you have to know yourself well enough to be able to ask for those things. And just purely practically speaking, the conditions you set at the beginning of a job, they stay with you. It's much harder to request something else or different treatment once you're already there for a while. But the conditions, everything from salary to breaks to vacation time to that's what you set in the beginning, and be as clear about that as you can. Once you're working there, it becomes much harder. It's like if you get special treatment, then everyone else wants special treatment. Is you can't really change the conditions of the terms of your work very much once you're in it. So in the beginning, be clear.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have like again questions after questions after questions. I don't think I should take. One thing I want to the thought keeps coming. What I noticed in workplaces and all, I wondered like why people are unkind to other people. I could never understand. One guy though who was like behind me, like not who was trying to make it very difficult for me. I was like, our field, everything is totally different. There's no connection in our lives. He doesn't know me. There's no reason. I keep wondering, what does he get? Like, why would anyone do anything like that? So that kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So we only treat others the way we treat ourselves. So the the judgments and the self-criticism that we turn towards ourselves, that's also how we then treat others based on that. And so when people are unkind to one another, it's because they're unkind to themselves first and foremost, and now they're just kind of lashing out at their environment, bringing that same attitude. And when you look at the other end of the spectrum, self-love, the more you love yourself, the more you have to love others. It sounds selfish, but it's not. Many people accuse those who are on meditating and going to retreats and on the journey of self-realization as being selfish, but everything begins with self. So the degree that you love yourself, to which you love yourself, is the degree to which you can love others. And when you see people being unkind to one another, it's most likely they're unkind to themselves, but they're not aware of it. They're acting out from traumas, from conditioning, from their upbringing, from their environment, and now they're just kind of letting that out on the people around them.
Yeah,
And
I
you have
want to
to,
add
yeah.
something. I'm sorry. So, we always say, it's always said, right? The world is your mirror, right? I kind of don't understand. Like, if I am not being unkind to them or anyone else, why something I'm attracting such kind of things towards me?
Hmm. So the reason you should be kind to yourself is not because you can expect others then to treat you the same way. You should be kind to yourself and love yourself and accept yourself, because that cultivates your frequency, your energy field. And if you're unkind to others, you're actually just hurting yourself. And in fact, every thought that you give your attention to, if it's a positive thought, you add that positive energy to your being. If it's a negative thought about yourself, about others, about the world, doesn't matter, you're adding negative charge to your energy field. So think of yourself as a container, a container of energy, and all day long there's thoughts. Some are negative, some are positive, and the ones that you give your attention to are the ones you absorb, that you become. So look at the sum total of all the things you give your attention to, and then you'll have a good idea of your frequency. Now, when you encounter others, there's one of two ways they can react to that. One is very often they feel threatened because their energy field is lower, their frequency is slower, and at the lower end of the spectrum, and so high vibration triggers them. They don't believe it. They don't, maybe some people have, through their own upbringing, they have difficulty accepting praise or accepting love or accepting that they're worthy. That's their work to do. But when you come along and you represent those qualities, those frequencies, it might trigger them in their lack. And now they blame you. They treat you a certain way. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with their stuff, with their unresolved issues. Of course, that still you shouldn't just take it knowing, oh, it's really just them, acting out out of their own pain. You still need to speak up. You still need to set boundaries. You still need to, say this is not okay. You can't speak to me this way, whatever, or keep your distance. Mindfulness is not passive. It's being aware, oh, this is a toxic person. They are full of their own negativity. They, when I listen to them, they'll gladly take up my energy. But when I need something, they won't give at all, ever. They lack the capacity. So do I want this person in my life or not? And maybe it's somebody that you have to spend some time with, then, minimize it as much as possible. Keep it short. So that's again, the challenge of greater awareness. It starts to reveal a world that is built by and for people of lower levels of awareness. I wrote a whole book on this, right? The 5 levels of awareness. And how do we deal with that? And that becomes our biggest teacher, is to see that person, the pain that they're in, their own immersion, their struggles, that wherever that may come from, and to hold space for them and allow them to be, and that allowing actually heals them. That's an advanced state. If you still have your own triggers around these things, then you won't be available to just hold space for them completely, fully. But eventually you'll get even to that point as you release your own sense of lack and the stuck energy. You become a space holder for others in their experience. So yeah, unkind people hurting each other, you look out there and it happens a lot. And they're just acting out their own unhealed wounds.
Thank you so much, Cirak. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. Oh, so great to see you as well. I think I saw you on the registration list for the Pyramid Valley retreat.
I'm not yet, because my job and all is there. So I'm mostly gonna come. I just checked it so I will definitely come.
Good.
I don't miss your sessions at all. I was like, I came running. Oh my God, there's a live. Let's do it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think your session have been life changing and all this. Like until now, I was not even aware of what I was doing. So yeah, that's really helpful right now. Yeah. So now I know what I need to work on, and now I'm trying to work on those things. So yeah.
Yeah. And as you do the work, that's so beautiful to hear. And as you do the work, always come at it from a place of, not feeling like you're good enough. That's what holds us back the most. Oh, look at that! There it is. Beautiful. So as you do this work, you have this this awareness of acceptance of who I am. That's what moves us forward. It's not thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, that's why I'm doing this work. Try to find the acceptance of sinking into the stillness of being with yourself. This is who I am right now in life. Life continues. There's a next moment and the next moment and another day and another day. It's growth, it's evolution, it's a process. The mind likes to jump to outcomes. It kind of creates these final black and white moments, and that's just not the reality of our existence. But just see yourself as you are now, which is a beautiful shining light, and there's certain areas that you're becoming aware of that require some more awareness. And as you put awareness there, the light starts to spread there as well. And you keep doing that. It doesn't take very long, excuse me, for your whole being to just be light, right? That it's not like a switch that suddenly one day, 2 years from now, suddenly you feel it. It's it creeps in very slowly, but gently and permanently, and you just feel you start to feel lighter and lighter and flowier and flowier, and things will happen that you can never expect. And that's the sign then that you're connected to source, when things are happening beyond your expectations. They exceed what you could imagine, because what we can imagine is by default very limited. It's limited to who we are right now. The life, the person that you imagine yourself to be is still constrained by who you are right now. So just living by our imagination, it might get you somewhere, but it's small small steps. If you really want to let loose and open the floodgates of your evolution, then it's, to the mind, it's a paradox, but then the opposite, by accepting where you are, is actually what accelerates you forward. This is who I am right now. This is what I can do right now. These are the tools I have available right now. There's no complaint, no resistance in that whatsoever about it should be different, or why don't I have this, or why aren't my parents this way, or why don't I have a better job? Why don't they treat me that? It's pure acceptance will accelerate you forward like crazy into a place well beyond your mind. No longer plays a role in that type of deep uh, manifestation, divine calling. We'll do a whole day of the retreat is dedicated to that manifestation.
Yes, thank you so much. I was busy writing. Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
good. Perfect, perfect.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Nandi. I'll see you again soon.
Happy
Thanks.
Diwali. Do enjoy
Oh,
Diwali
yes,
when
Diwali,
you're in
yes. Yeah,
India.
yeah, likewise. All right. That was sweet. Okay. So I think we'll do our meditation now. Thank you, everyone. Just being still is already meditation enough. We don't spend enough time just being still. Most of the questions we have would be answered if we just took enough time to be still. It's literally that easy. They appear, they pop up, the answers arise within us if we ask a question and then give it space, give ourselves space for the answer to arise. So we're going to start this meditation session with just a few minutes of stillness. In that stillness, acceptance is your core. Thoughts will come along, your mind will drift, you might feel aches, you might have fear or discomfort. Maybe you haven't sat still in a while or ever. And different experiences will rise up. And your only job is to observe them, let them be, recognize that's what's happening right now. And we're just going to do that for about 5 minutes. You can close your eyes if you want. You can look around in your environment. And now slowly, with your eyes and mouth closed, bring your full attention to the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. There's a sensitive area there where you can feel the touch of your breath. Just notice the touch of your breath. You can breathe slightly harder, once or twice. And then return to natural breath. Normal breath. Let the detail of your breath pull you in closer. Closer into the present moment. If your breath is shallow, let it be shallow. If your breath is deep, let it be deep. If it's more in the left nostril, let it be the left nostril. If it's more in the right nostril, let it be the right nostril. Or if it's in both nostrils, let it be both. Notice the temperature of the incoming breath. Notice the temperature of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the pace of the incoming breath. Notice the pace of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the length of the incoming breath. Notice the length of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. And whenever you find that your mind has wandered, simply notice it. And without frustration, without dismay, but with full acceptance, return your attention back to the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. Natural breath, normal breath. Observe your breath as it is, without wanting it to be different. And whenever you're ready, you can gradually blink open your eyes. Bring your attention back to this room. Noticing your environment. Noticing yourself in your environment. Noticing your peace, your presence, and your stillness. So, this thought awareness, again, it's just a practice that strengthens your ability to notice your thoughts, not get pulled into your thoughts, not start identifying with the thoughts. That's how we get lost and go down the rabbit hole. But to be able to witness one's thoughts, all the healing, all the subsequent techniques that clear the stuck feelings from our body flow from this. If the mind, monkey mind, keeps drifting, it limits our ability to connect with our sensations, with our feelings in our body. And if we can't connect with those feelings, then we can't feel our wisdom, what resonates, hear our inner voice, our intuition gets diminished. So this little exercise we just did, 10 or 12 minutes a day, is what will work wonders. I have a meditation on this on my website. If you go to cirak.com and the main nav, look for resources. There's a 12-minute version of what we just did. You can watch that and follow that along as part of your daily practice. Good. So Andy says, I feel stress on my back, spine, shoulder, braids, and neck. So you very quickly start to realize what's really going on in your body. All the tension, all the weight, all the energy misalignments that we carry around, that when we don't have a still mind, when we're absorbed in the noise and the chatter, we're not aware of our body and what it's saying. These are all things that are saying something. Something there needs attention. So we're going to spend the next 10 minutes doing exactly that. That will conclude our session today. Brad, you can use your example with your father if you want. But we're going to think of a situation. If you have pen and paper, you can write it down. Something that triggers us, something that annoys us. It shouldn't be a big trigger where we go into massive reactivity, but just something that could be a conversation with somebody, could be a situation at work or at home, or a phone call we had, even just traveling, something happened, somebody cut us off in traffic, just something that triggered us. And we're going to focus, as you think of this situation, focus on where you feel that in your body, where that shows up in your body. So we're going to do that for a few minutes. When that shows up in your body, I'm going to guide us through a series of questions. You can answer them silently to yourself. So I'll give us another minute to just either write out or replay a certain situation that triggered us and notice where that shows up in your body. A lot of emotions are in our stomach, solar plexus. Chest carries anxiety and stress, lungs, grief, fear, heartache in our heart. Perhaps tightness in our throat from not speaking up, tension in our jaw or shoulders or lower back. Just notice when you think of the situation where it shows up in your body. I'll give you another minute. Now, if you feel something in different places. Just pick one. We just need a starting point to go into the body, to do a conscious somatic release. And I want you to focus your fullest attention on this area where you feel triggered, where you feel the stuck energy, and answer the following questions. Is this a broad simmering sensation that you feel, or more of a concentrated pinpoint one? Is this area fluffy like a cloud, or more dense like a rock, or something in between? Is this shape three-dimensional? Can you look around the sides, front and back, top and bottom? Or is it more two-dimensional, more flat? Does this area have a shape? Perhaps it's round or oval or abstract with corners. Just observe. Just notice. And what's the approximate size of the shape? Is it small, like a pea or a marble, or a little larger, like a golf ball or tennis ball? Or does it occupy your whole innards? Just observe. Just notice. And can you see the boundaries of the shape? Are they blurry? Do they bleed into the environment? Or is it clearly defined? Just observe. Just examine. Now, with your mind's eye, pick a starting point and draw an outline around the shape. And as you draw that outline, notice any changes in shape or size or intensity. And finish back where you started from. Now see if you can zoom in to the surface of the shape. How close can you get? Can you get real close? Does it let you, or does it push back? That's all right too. Just find a comfortable distance from which you can observe and notice and examine. If you feel discomfort, you can always back off, but see how close you can get. And scan across the entire surface from all sides, above and below, front and back. Just observing the shape, just noticing, exploring. Now, with your mind's eye, see if you can touch the surface, if you can tap it. Will it let you? If it pushes back, that's all right too. Just find a comfortable distance from which you can observe. But if you can touch it, go ahead and do so now. Just touch and tap, touch and tap. Touch and tap across the entire surface from all sides, above and below, front and back. Just touch and tap. As you touch and tap, notice any changes in shape or size or density. As you touch and tap, is there a color that comes to you? Perhaps it's dark or gray or red or different gradients. Just notice, just observe. Now, with your mind's eye, see if you can penetrate the surface, if you can go inside. Will it let you? If it pushes back, that's all right. Just keep a comfortable distance from which you can observe. But if you can go inside, you can do so now. And once inside, look around. What do you see? Perhaps walls or structures. Perhaps an energy emanating. Just look around. Just observe. And you can ask this energy now, what is its purpose? Why is it there? Just ask and let the answer come to you. Now ask the energy if it wants to leave you, or if it wants to stay, that's all right too. And if it wants to leave you, what is its preferred way? Does it want to dissolve or melt or leave you through an opening or transmute into something else altogether? Just ask and let the answer come to you. And now, when you're ready and the energy's ready to leave you, you can initiate the release process. See the energy leaving you through its preferred way. Perhaps it wants to dissolve or melt, leave you through an opening, or transmute into something else. Whatever it may be, accompany it out. This is your chance. Let it all go. And on its way out, you can thank it, show gratitude. It's been a part of you perhaps for a very long time, but it's no longer needed. It's time to go. Watch as the energy leaves you and disappears into the ether or a distant shore, or transmutes into something else. Maybe butterflies or stars, dust. Get it all out so that no residue remains. And with that, perhaps it's all been released, perhaps only portions of it. But for now, bring your attention back to the space where the energy used to be. What do you see there now? Maybe space and openness, or the flesh from your insides, or maybe a light. And into this space, you can now invite anything you feel you're missing. Anything at all. Could be more self-love, or confidence, or abundance, or trust, or a healing balm. Whatever it may be, invite it now. There are unlimited quantities where that comes from. And with that, reflect on the spot where the energy used to be. How does it feel now that you've applied love and trust and healing balm? Now that the light of your awareness is prominent and strong, is there any piece of that original trigger that still remains? Just test it out ever so slightly, gently, taking note of anything that remains for the session next time. or perhaps it's all gone. Just notice what that feels like to be lighter and freer and more self-aware. Lock in this feeling. Know that you can retrieve it anytime you want, should it ever leave you. And with that, slowly bringing your attention back to your body, the surface you're sitting on, the clothes that you're wearing. Noticing the temperature in the room, the energy of presence and stillness all around. This is your connection to Source, the greater consciousness. And whenever you're ready, you can gently blink open your eyes. Notice your environment. Notice the high fidelity of your senses. Notice your peace, your presence, and your stillness. Stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of consciousness, one consciousness. With much gratitude for everyone who joined today. Looking forward to seeing you next week, even if you don't maintain a practice during the week. Once a week, a session like this can be enough to move things along, to keep you grounded, to keep you sane, keep you connected to each other and to yourself and to Source. As always, we're available in the main WhatsApp group. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for your presence and your support. Please spread the word. We want to share the frequency with those who are ready to receive it and contribute it back. So if you know anyone who might be a good fit, bring them along. And I look forward to seeing everyone soon. Be blessed.